Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Friday, hope you all are doing well. It is the game review to Everton's 3-2 defeat to Burnley on Wednesday night. Apologies that this wasn't streamed yesterday. Typically we would do this stream on a Thursday and then do the game preview ahead of the Man United game today. We will be doing the game preview ahead of the Man United game a little bit later on. We're going to wait for Frank Lampard's pre-game press conference, which is in about an hour and 10 minutes, and then we'll sit down a little bit later on this afternoon and do that live stream. But as I said on the instant match reaction of the Burnley game on Wednesday evening, I was at the races yesterday, and the last thing I wanted to do was think about Everton Football Club, because all I wanted to do was go to the gym in the morning, go the races, have a great time, drink far too much alcohol, spend far too much money, and which I wouldn't suggest anybody doing if you are either going or watching the races over the next couple of days, and just completely put Everton to the back of my mind. Shout out to Alan if you're watching. Alan, not Alan as in Alan who plays for Everton. Alan who spoke to me at the races yesterday. Really nice to have a little chat. But other than that chat with Alan, I never spoke or thought about Everton once, to be perfectly honest with you, because it just is really difficult at the moment, isn't it? And that's being kind to the situation. That's being quite sort of blasé about the whole thing. It's really getting to me at the moment, and I'm sure it's getting to everybody. And Wednesday evening was just another chapter in the everlasting book of Everton's shite last few years, which has been written by Farhad Mashiri, edited by Bill Knight, and is now being read out to all of us every single week. And as I said, Wednesday was just another chapter in that book, another game that we absolutely needed to win. Certainly didn't needed to not lose it. I said, I think, going into the game on Wednesday that a win would be the ideal result, of course, as it is every week. But we saw the graphic on Sky Sports News, when we went 2-1 up, exactly what a win would have done for Everton on Wednesday. It would have been absolutely, potentially season changing. Would have been 6 points away from the drop, with, still a couple of games in hand and only a couple of points off of the likes of Brighton and Newcastle, who obviously are climbing away from it now. And yes, we're still very much in that situation. We still very much are only a couple of wins away from maybe being out of it and being able to sit here and say, we can regroup ahead the next season. But I just look at our fixture list coming up, and I look at, some of the games previous over the last couple of weeks, and I don't see where we're picking up 3 points. I really don't. And then all of a sudden the game turns around on its head. Burnley end up getting back into the game, scoring a winner, and all of a sudden I think they're a point behind us now with Norwich to play at the weekend, which they'll be fancying themselves. But not only in terms of the points and where that leaves Burnley in the table, in comparison to Everton, but it also gives Burnley a lot of confidence. Sean Dyche and that team now will be looking at it thinking, well, we've just gone 5 games without scoring a single goal, and we've just got 3 in one game. Something that was really telling for me after the Burnley game and after the Burnley result was Sean Dyche actually coming out in his post-game interview and saying that he told his players at half-time that he's not sure that this Everton team know how to win away from home, and then the players went out and done the business. And that's heartbreaking, that, isn't it, when you hear an opposition manager effectively come out and say that when he was 2-1 down, and let's be honest, we were absolutely on top of Burnley for the majority of the game, creating opportunities, creating chances. They didn't really have much in the game. Instead of their manager saying, keep it tight against these, they create chances, they're a good team, he literally just went out and said, these don't know how to win a game of football away from home. And the Burnley players must have just thought, yeah, do you know what, that's true, that. And then they come out and they won the game. Which just shows where Everton are at the moment, and it also just shows the mentality that other managers and players have towards this Everton team. And that's why I honestly do think that we're going down. It's been a day or so to think about the game, even though I didn't think about it once yesterday. And obviously we've got a gigantic game against Manchester United later, and we'll be as positive as we possibly can in the game preview to that in a couple of hours' time. But the reality is, when you look at the fixtures that we've got coming up, and you look at Wednesday as a staple performance of our season, and you just think, where are we getting the points from? Yes, Goodison will be booming tomorrow. It's absolutely got to be booming tomorrow. And yes, that might pick us a result up. It might pick us 3 points up, which would be massive, i.e. Leeds, i.e. Newcastle. But I look at tomorrow and I think, okay, 3 points would be gigantic, and I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't take 3, because obviously we want 3 points and it would be absolutely massive. But are we going to take confidence from that? If we win tomorrow, are we going to take confidence? Are we going to take momentum? Or are we going to be sitting here having the same conversation as we had post Leeds, post Newcastle, where we've lost the following week? And we can't just have one win here, one win. We need, we need points. We needed 10 points out of 10 games, 11 points out of 10 games effectively. We've got one less game now, and we're 3 less points down. As I said, that game on Wednesday was just, for me, it almost felt like that nail in the coffin, didn't it? And that's a bit mad to say, considering we've got 9 games left, and we've got a couple of games in hand on certain teams. And as I said, we are only a couple of wins away from looking much, much better. But we're also reliant on Burnley not now going on a good run. Burnley will have taken a lot of confidence from that win on Wednesday. We're also relying on Watford not picking up a couple of results. Watford looked good against Liverpool, albeit we're beaten. And more so, and more, I think, more unreliably, we're looking on Everton. Actually putting in a few consecutive performances and getting a few results. And I just look at the situation and think I can't see that. Who can I see Everton beating next? Yes, Manchester United will be a different kettle of fish because it's at Goodison and the fans will be behind it. But are this team good enough to beat Manchester United, even with a packed out Goodison Park behind them? We beat Leeds comfortably. Leeds aren't a particularly good team, and certainly weren't at the time. We made the Newcastle game look difficult, let's be honest. It wasn't like we were all over them. We battered them. We scored a 99th minute winner, and it was an absolute horrible game of football prior to that. So although Man United are a bit all over the place at the moment, and the club's in a bit of a mess, and they've not had a great season, they're still a much better team than Everton. And even with a full capacity Goodison Park behind them, are this Everton team good enough to beat Manchester United? Were they good enough to beat Wolves a couple of weeks ago? No, and Wolves aren't even that great. So, although it's negative, and although I don't want to be negative, and I want to be optimistic, and I want to be as positive as possible, that on Wednesday for me very much felt like a final nail in the coffin. Even though there's still a lot of football to be played, it just felt like the type of game that you look back on at the end of a season and think, yeah, that was where we lost it. That was where we lost it. And listen, there's questions to be asked about everybody at the football club. I'm not going to sit here and have a go at, the board today, because I've sat here and had a go at the board for however many weeks on the bounce. And I probably will sit here and have a go at the board, actually, because now I've thought about it, they've pissed me off. But, I was on Sky on Wednesday. If anybody saw that, I mentioned the board there. And listen, we all know this board are, pardon me, completely inept. We all know that this board are an absolute disgrace. The owner hasn't got a clue about football, and yet seems to think he's got a clue about football. Gets involved when he shouldn't be getting involved. The chairman is stale now and should have left the football club years ago. And if he doesn't leave after this season, then he can piss off with I'm the biggest Evertonian, I want what's best for the football club, because we know if after this season he doesn't walk, it's all a load of bollocks, and he just wants what's best for him. The CEO hasn't done a good enough job. She needs to leave. Everybody on that board needs to go. Every single... I don't care if you've been here for 10 minutes or you've been here for 10 years. Everybody on that board has contributed to where we are today. You look at the players and you think, are the players good enough to stay in the Premier League? There's this false sort of, I think, story about these Everton players that, why are Everton in the situation that they're in? They've got a really, really good team on paper. Have we, though? Have we got strikers that can score goals? Very rarely. We scored 2 penalties on Wednesday. Our attackers had a good 2, 3, 4 other opportunities that, let's say, 12, 13 teams in the league, their strikers would have scored and ours didn't. Are our defence good enough to stay in the Premier League? Absolutely not. They can't defend corners. They can't defend corners. If you're a centre-half playing on a Sunday afternoon down your local pitch and you can't defend corners, you're not getting a game for your local Sunday League team. It's as simple as that. And our defenders, our Premier League defenders, won't be shortly, but Premier League defenders, and they can't defend corners. They can't defend. Our fullbacks can't stop balls coming into the box. Whether it's Seamus Coleman, Vitaly Mikalenko, John Joe Kenny, they can't defend corners balls coming into the box. So, are we good enough to stay in the Premier League? Is our team good enough on paper? And it's just a situation that we found ourselves in? I don't think it is. Is the manager up to task? I don't know. There's been some reports about the manager over the last 24 hours, and what I would say is that you're going to get that. Of course, you're going to get that. Lewis, I don't know why you seem so angry, mate. You're just an idiot, aren't you? So there you go. See you later. But there would be reports over the next few days, and as there has been over the last couple of days, about Frank Lampard's future. Sky have come out and said that Everton's board aren't said to be interested in moving Frank Lampard on because they don't believe the situation will change, and that's absolutely spot on. Because the situation that we're in isn't because of Frank Lampard, it's because of you dickheads at the top of the football club who have decided to fucking employ dreadful manager after dreadful, or the wrong manager after the wrong manager, bring in players that simply aren't good enough for far too much money, and run the club like a fucking circus. And when you run the club like a circus, you'll get a circus. But is Frank Lampard up to the task of keeping Everton in the Premier League? Wednesday was the first time, and I've allowed Frank Lampard a lot over the last few weeks or so. I've allowed him to get away with certain things, and I still very much don't believe that. Lewis, you're an absolute idiot, mate. You're an absolute idiot. And somebody, is there any? There's no mods in here, is there? How do I do it yourself? See you later, mate. You're an absolute cretin. But yeah, you know, as I said, I've allowed Frank Lampard, you know, a lot of to get away with a lot recently, and substitutions and stuff like that. And I very much still don't think that the situation that we're in is down to Frank Lampard. I don't. I think Frank Lampard has been put in a position in which it was extremely difficult to get out of. But Wednesday was the first time I did look and I thought, is he up to this? Is he capable of getting us out of this position? Is he capable of keeping us in the Premier League? Does he have the minerals, pardon me? Does he have the tools? Does he have the tactical ability to get what he needs to get out of these players? I'm not sure he does. I've got a real problem with the players' mentality. You heard Mason Holgate come out less than a week ago and said, yeah, I don't know what people are worrying about. We'll be all right. Will we, Mason? Will we? Because we're a point. You know, we're only a point above the relegation zone, and we're in April. And our running is much more difficult than Watford and Burnley's running. We've got the worst running out of those teams in the relegation zone, so will we be all right? Is that what their mentality is? We'll lose this one because we'll be all right. We've always got next week. Richarlison apparently speaking to fans on Twitter. Sorry, on Instagram. Whether or not this is real, I don't know. But Richarlison apparently messaging fans on Instagram, saying things like, you know, we need your support. Get down to Goodison. We'll be fine. Will we be fine, Richie? Richarlison was one of the ones on Wednesday that I think could have walked off with his head held high, although I do think that he was a little bit greedy towards the end of the game. Although for the rest of the game he played well. He scored the 2 goals. He was a handful for their defence. But will we be all right? When are the players going to understand the situation that we're in, and actually the position that we're in as a football club? And when are they going to start realising that they've got to dig deep every week? Glenn has become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, Glenn. Really, really do appreciate that, my mate. If you're wondering why I'm speaking quiet, it's because I've lost my voice. I've done a lot of screaming and shouting yesterday, and a lot of consuming of alcoholic substances that I probably shouldn't have, but here we are. So that's why I've got a bit of a croaky voice, and I'm not going to sit here and screaming. But as I said, Wednesday was just heartbreaking for me. It was heartbreaking because I think it was the first time a lot of Evertonians, it wasn't the first time I'd gotten to this point because I've been here for months. I've been convinced that we're going to go down for months and months and months. So it's not a surprise to me anymore. But I think it was the first time it really, really hit a lot of Blues that we're in the shit here. We are really, really, really in the shit. And, you know, as I said, for the game that we were in control of for most of the game. The stats will tell you differently, but, you know, I think we had the better chances. We were 2-1 up, you know, going into half-time. Okay, we got 2 penalties, that's fine, but we were 2-1 up. All we needed to do was hang on. All we needed to do was hold out. You know, even had we have got a point, it would have been much better for the situation because it would have taken those points off of Burnley. Hold out, get everyone behind the ball, and don't concede, don't do anything stupid. But this group of players just seem incapable of doing that, don't they? As I said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say it again, the game management of this team is fucking criminal. It's absolutely criminal. And the title of this live stream is How Does Lampard Fix This? I'm not sure Frank Lampard can fix this, to be honest with you. I'm really, really not sure Frank Lampard can fix this because he's not been here, you know, long. And as I said, I'm not going to sit here and give him loads and loads of stick because I don't think the position we're in is directly accountable to him, although I think some of the decisions he's made since he's been here have been wrong. But you look at the time he's been here, Frank Lampard, and you think surely the game management should have improved by then. Surely Everton should be able to be 2-1 up at Turf Moor against, let's be honest, a poor Burnley team. And if there's any Burnley fans watching, congratulations. Your players turned up, they rolled up their sleeves, they worked hard, and you deserved what you got. And we deserved what we got. I think we were the better. I think we were the team that were more on top. I think we were the team that created more, but it doesn't matter. Because you created enough to go and win the game and you took your chances and we didn't, because our strikers are not good enough, our forwards are not good enough. So if there's any Burnley fans watching, then have your moments, that's absolutely fine. I hope you are loving it and I hope you are thinking, do you know what a win that was. But the reality is, I'll say it how it is, and how it is Burnley aren't very good. It's as simple as that. Burnley aren't very good. And as I said before, the stat that really hit home was I think they were like 98th in the country at creating chances and creating big chances and this, that and the other before this game. They hadn't scored in the last 5 Premier League games. And they put 3 past us. And they put 3 past us with ease. The second and the third goal are carbon copies of each other. Ball across the box and a fella standing there on his own. And the first goal is, as I said, I reckon I could get 11 of me mates together and take a corner and we'd score against Everton. That's how bad Everton are at defending corners. They're woeful. and when you're that bad at defending corners and defending set pieces and defending balls in the box and stopping crosses, and we concede goals like it's Christmas and we're giving presents out, and we don't do enough at the other end of the pitch, we don't score enough, we don't take chances, we don't create I can't even begin to count on one hand how many times during that game on Wednesday I turned round to a couple of my mates that we were watching it with and said that was the chance, that whether it be Richarlison's, whether it be Anthony Gordon's, whether it be Dominic Calvert-Lewin's, that was the chance to go and kill the game off. It was simple. The task for me was simple on Wednesday. We went in at 2-1. They were always going to feel like they had an opportunity to come back at us and come out, and they needed to get something out of that game, so they were always going to come at us. The task was simple. First 10-15 minutes of the second half, go and get a third goal, kill the game off, kill their momentum, kill any confidence that they've got off, and then go and win the game. If we'd have gone 3-1 up between the first 10-15 minutes of the second half, then they wouldn't have come back into it. They wouldn't. And it just... Again, Burnley aren't very good. I don't care if there's Burnley fans watching and it will offend them. I really couldn't give a shit. They're not very good. They've showed multiple times this season, but they showed the other day. We were on top of them for the majority of the game. How many times have we able to be in City and say Everton consoled that game there? But we were on top of them for, as I said, large portions of the game. And we're fucking awful as well. And I know I'll get people saying, well, if we're awful, what are yous? We're fucking atrocious. But what we are is a squad full of players who A, aren't very good at football, and B, don't seem to have the mentality to win games, don't seem to have the mentality to hold games out, don't seem to have the mentality to, roll your sleeves up and go and grind out a result. And that's exactly what this team is. What the difference between Burnley and Everton on Wednesday was those Burnley players listened to what their manager said, which is right. We haven't got a fucking clue how to win a game away from home, which falls on the players and the manager. And they rolled their sleeves up and they wanted it more than we did. And they scored 2 goals in the second half, which, let's be honest, I could have defended against, and I'm sat here hungover, knackered because I've just been in the gym, skint because I lost all my money at the races yesterday, absolutely shattered, hungry, and I could have defended them goals in the state that I'm in now. That's how bad we are at defending, and I know we need to be positive, and as I said, we're going to do the game preview to the Manchester United game a little bit later on this afternoon, and we will be more positive in that one because there's no point in being negative. We will be positive. We'll talk about the Goodison atmosphere. We'll talk about getting behind the players, getting behind the manager and stuff. But for this one, we're specifically talking about Wednesday. I can't sit here and be positive about it because it was a fucking shambles, and it just feels that game was the game that we'll be looking back on at the end of the season thinking that was the one that took us down. And I just, it's heartbreaking for me. I just look at it and think it's absolutely heartbreaking that this is the situation that we're in, that this is the position that we're in. It just, it's an absolute killer. And who will be the saviour? Who will be the player that we all look at and, at the end of the season and think, thank God for him? Who will be our Kevin Campbell? Who will be the player that we look back on and go, he saved us this season? I don't know. Yes, we've got Alan to return, which will be a massive on Saturday, massive. We've got Donny van der Beek, who will come back obviously after Saturday because he can't play because it's against his parent club. Yerry Mina, whenever he returns, will be massive, but is it too little too late? Can these players come in and make a big enough impact to keep us in the Premier League? I don't know. I know Jack says Alan, Mina, Gomez. Gomez won't do anything. He won't. Alan and Mina, yeah, potentially. But Gomez, forget Gomez. He's not going to come in and make any impact on the team. So yeah, as I said, for me, Wednesday was one of those that you looked at and you just thought, they're the games that you need. We knew going into it, we needed to get something out of it, be it a win, be it a point. As I said, people were saying to me before Wednesday, don't be so negative, Cam, this is a must win. It was a must win, but it was just a must not lose for me. It was an absolute must not lose. And we lost. And that's about the third game in about the last 2 months that we've sat here and said this is a must not lose, and we've lost. And for me, you just can't. You can't do that. You can't keep losing these games that we identify as absolutely season defining. Wednesday was season defining because not only forget Everton for a second, forget Everton dropping points or not winning. Let's flip it on its head. That's Burnley who've picked up another 3 points there. If Burnley were playing anybody else on Wednesday, I'd still be sitting here absolutely destroyed because they've picked up another 3 points that we haven't. So I've sort of switched my perspective now. I'm looking at Everton, but I don't trust Everton enough to do what we need them to do. So I'm now looking at the teams around us and just hoping they drop points. And Burnley picked up a massive 3 points. Jack the lads says, see negative again. This fan base wonder why we're 18th. The fan base got problems. It's nothing to do with the fans, mate. It's nothing to do with the fans. I'm talking about a game on Wednesday. I'm not going to sit here and be positive about it. We'll do the Man United preview in an hour or so, and we'll be as positive as we can going into it because it's a new start. It's a new week. But this is reviewing what was arguably the worst game of football, the worst result this football club have had for decades. Absolute decades. So I can't sit here and be positive about it, because it was absolutely dreadful. The manager, again, he made 2 substitutes. He brought Rondon on and he brought Damari Gray on. What's the point in Delhi? What's the point in El Ghazi? We brought these players in January to turn the form around, to give us something a bit different, to cause opposition teams problems, to give us something that teams won't be able to prepare for. And yet they can't even get on in a must-not-lose game when we are clearly coming under pressure. They can't even get on the pitch. Rondon is coming on over them, and Rondon won't be here in the summer and shouldn't be here in the summer either. Can the manager not trust them? Does the manager deem them not good enough? Does the manager not see enough in them? If so, what was the fucking point in bringing them in? Because neither of them have had an opportunity. El Ghazi's had 5 minutes here, off the bench once. And Dele Alli's had 10 minutes here and there. It's just, it's heartbreaking. Anyway, let's get into the live comments before we actually talk about the game, because we'll talk about how the game panned out. And we'll get through this as quick as possible. Listen, I understand people don't want to talk about this game, and I understand people will have forgotten it, and I understand people will just want to talk about Man United and looking positively towards that, and we will in a couple of hours. As I said, we'll be doing the preview to the Manchester United game, and we'll be much more positive and we'll be much more happy. But I do a review for every game. As I said to you on Wednesday, I was out yesterday, so there was no chance I was doing it yesterday, so here we are today doing it. It is where we are. It is what it is, isn't it, I suppose. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. Only takes a second if you're new. Don't forget to subscribe. Jason says, hi Cam, do we have to? We do, well, you don't have to. You don't want to watch, you don't have to watch, but I have to. Official Keane says, afternoon Cam, mate, need shooting practices. We couldn't hit a band over the shotgun. Yeah, we couldn't hit our undies with a fart. We really, really couldn't. Manlet says, as a club we have finished. Even if we stay in the Prem, we'll be battling relegation for years to come because financially fucked. We are, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Even if we do stay up this season, which will be an absolute miracle if we are to stay up this season, serious change still needs to be made in the summer. It's as simple as that. The entire board still needs to go, regardless of whether we stay up or go down. The owner, for me, still needs to sell, regardless of whether we go up or down. And a good percentage, pardon me, of these players need to be fucked off, regardless of whether we stay up or go down. Because otherwise nothing will change and we'll be in this situation next year as well. Celtic Bay says, I think Frank is out of his depth, Cam. Looks like he can't motivate these players to fight apart from Richie and Gordon. We look like a spent force. Honestly, think we're gone. Fast Eddie says, it felt like we got relegated on Wednesday. Sad to say, but destined for Championship football next season. Goodison Blues says, it needs fixing tomorrow, or there may no be fixing at all. That's my belief. Fair enough. Jamie Carrick says, Lampard looks terrible. Must be having sleepless nights. Surely has been watching Everton all season. Knew the problems were. Well, he did, but you can know the problems, and you can think you know the problems, and you can think you know the solutions, and then you can come into a dressing room full of players that are so unmotivated and unwilling to see and to want to be motivated, and you can know everything. It doesn't mean that you'll be able to change it. I know the problems at Everton, I know what the issues are, I know where the problem stems from, but can I go in and change it? Probably not. Because this football club just seems cursed at the moment, and it doesn't seem like anybody could change it. Cam Topman, can we stay up? I've lost a lot of confidence, says Glenn. We can. Whether we will or not is a different question. It was said Denise was looking at alternative employment when Brands was kicked out. Lies. Celtic Vape says, should have been fixed years ago. This is all down to the owner and the board. The director of football is controlled by a super agent, says Jamie. Calm, would getting relegated help get rid of the board, or would it just ignore the situation and continue their old boys and girls club? Probably just ignore the situation, wouldn't he? Because that's what Everton's board do. They just ignore when things aren't going very well. Andrew said it's the board's decision making hiring Lampard on the last day of the transfer window. We was just stupid. Maybe we should have got a manager in to keep us up, then get Frank in the summer when we were safe. Maybe. Jason says Everton fans seem to forget Big Sam got us finishing 8th. Would he have kept us up? And if he doesn't, would he be good enough to sign challenge in the Championship next season? I don't even think we'll challenge in the Championship if we go down, to be honest. John says, the best manager in the world got us to 10th. Frank gave everything a fresh start. That was his first mistake. Second mistake was trying to play from the back. Interesting. And Ed says, hi Cam, never thought I'd say this, but Tom Davies is a huge miss in the middle of the park at the moment. Someone who wants the ball and moves it on. Got a bit of fire too, which is hugely lacking in R11. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree, to be honest with you. Again, I never thought I'd see the day. But the reality is, yeah, I agree. I think Tom Davies would have provided a little bit more stability. I think he's a much more effective player than Andre Gomez, and Andre Gomez has had his fair share of games this season. And yet I actually agree. I think having him in there would have benefited the team and the squad and the situation that Everton are in. People will disagree with that, but there you go. And AFC Graphics says, if the fans speaking on a YouTube channel affect the players, then there's something seriously wrong with a lot of them. You're doing nothing wrong, lad. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. But yeah, as I said, let's talk about the game for a bit then, because that's what we're here for, aren't we? We're here to talk about the game. Everton, uncharacteristically, started the game poorly, which we don't do very often. Certainly haven't done very often recently, and maybe that was an indication that it was going to be a good day. We were going to get something out of the game. It was going to be a positive. We were going to win it, because typically we start games quite well. We're on top, we're battling, we're working hard. First 10-15 minutes with a better team, and then the game plays out, and then we start to sort of crumble. Whereas in this one, we didn't start particularly well at all. Burnley were on top. Burnley were the team moving the ball forward. They were the team looking more confident. We looked shaky. We looked, we just didn't look like we were up for the fight. We didn't look like we were up for it. And, that was I think, the time when we all sort of put our heads in our hands and said, is this going to be another one of those days? Is this going to be another one of those games where, i.e. Crystal Palace, even though we started well against Crystal Palace. And then we start to build ourselves into the game a little bit. The likes of Richarlison, fighting Anthony Gordon is giving absolutely everything. Fighting, obviously, the manager went with a 4 at the back with Mason Holgate in midfield alongside Abdoulaye Doucouré and Alex Iwobi. And then a couple of minutes into the game, Mason Holgate picks up a yellow card, which some people don't really seem to see big issue in this. I've spoke to some Evertonians and seen some people on social media who don't necessarily see a big issue in your centre midfielder picking up a yellow card 2 minutes into the game. For me, that's woeful by Mason Holgate. That's ill discipline, and it's Mason Holgate trying to look hard and trying to be the big man and trying to throw his weight about and throw a foot out and trying to look like he's the established alpha male of the situation. when in reality, all as it is Mason Holgate putting the entire game on a knife edge, because we're all sitting there as fans in the stadium and in the pub or whatever we were watching, thinking he kicks out once more and he's off and this is game over. And his teammates are probably thinking, fucking hell, Mason, you didn't need to get that book, and you've now put us in a situation where every time the ball comes anywhere near you, you are also going to be thinking, fucking hell, you've got to time that tackle perfectly. And he didn't need to do it. Not so long after, Ben Godfrey gets a yellow card for time wasting. I mean, it's been suggested over recent weeks on with various different journalists that Everton might have a disciplinarian issue, and Lampard was asked about it, and he said, listen, again, some of the sending offs are ones that we don't like, and we're going to speak to the players about. I think he said the Alan one was a disgrace, so it's a non-issue. But it's not even just sending offs; it's ill discipline of the players. It's silly things like that. You, as a centre half, within the first half, you should not be getting a yellow card for time wasting. You shouldn't, because again, the Burnley players are then thinking, right, get anywhere near him in the box, or if he sticks a foot out, go over it, because not only are we winning a foul, but he's on a knife edge of getting sent off there. Same with Mason Holgate. Every time the ball come near to him, I have my head in my hands thinking, he's going to do something fucking stupid here. And he's going to get another red card. He didn't, and the game went on, but I just think it's so ill-disciplined. I just think it's so stupid for these players to pick up bookings like that. It's just unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. Anyway, as I said, we were growing back into the game a little bit. We were starting to find our feet. Burnley weren't particularly threatening us an awful lot. Okay, they were getting forward, they were moving the ball forward, but they weren't particularly threatening us. And then they get a goal in typical Everton fashion. Pardon me. They get a corner, ball comes in from the corner, and they get a goal. And, as I said before, it's Everton now, isn't it? Conceding a goal from a corner isn't even a surprise anymore. We all just sort of sit here and go, yeah, conceded a goal from a corner, have we? That's about right. That sounds about right. That sounds a bit... That's Everton. That's Everton in a nutshell, isn't it? And yeah, we concede a goal from a corner. We go 1-0 down, and my first thought is, that's it. It's game over. Because A, we just simply don't come back when we're 1-0 down, and B, we simply don't win away games. So we've now gone 1-0 down away from home via another corner in a must-not-lose game, and it's done. But we didn't. We showed the reaction, and you know what? Credit where credit's due. The players picked themselves up, and they bounced back. And I think what there was on Wednesday was, if we're going to talk about positives, which I know some people in the comments are absolutely fuming that we're not sitting here dead happy about this result, but if we're going to talk about positives, I suppose the reaction of the players post-conceding was much better on Wednesday as what it has been in previous weeks and months. I think we saw more of a reaction. The players actually looked like they were wanting to get back in the game, looked like they were wanting to force their way into the referee making decisions, and we actually looked like the players for the first time in a while thought, shit, we can't lose this game, so we need to get back into it. And we did. Almost instantly, we go up the other end. Anthony Gordon dribbles himself into the box, wins a penalty, blatant penalty, by the way, absolute blatant penalty. I had some Burnley fans on the instant match reaction saying, oh my God, we had the referee against us and we still won. Don't be stupid, mate. Both penalties are the most blatant penalties you will see in a long, long time. The absolute night is, clear as day. Anyway, Anthony Gordon goes down, Richarlison steps up, and my heart is in my mouth. I'm sure everybody who's watching this, their hearts would have been in their mouths as well. But Richie steps up, he puts it away, and it's 1-1. And we're thinking, right, okay, we're back in it now. We're back in it. We've conceded a silly goal, but we've got back into it. Let's start to take the lead here. Let's start to take the possession. Let's start to take the control of the game. Again, not so long after, we get another penalty. Alex Iwobi plays a brilliant ball into Vitaly Mikalenko. He cuts inside of the defender. He goes down. It's another penalty. As I said, this one took a little bit longer. There was a little bit, of a VAR check on it. I'm not too sure why, because it was absolutely blatant. Again, second one was absolutely blatant. He makes contact with his foot and he goes down, and that's a penalty in this day and age. If it was any other team, certainly some of the teams towards the top half of the top of the league, it wouldn't have even been checked. It wouldn't have even been checked. Richie steps up again. This time you're thinking, don't go the same way, because Nick Pope is going to know you're going to go the same way. But he did. Nick Pope didn't go the same way. Well, he went the same way as he went last time. And Richie makes it 2-1. And you're thinking, okay, we haven't had much in the game. We haven't created an awful lot of chances, but we're 2-1 up. We're going to go into half-time away from home for the first time in what seems about 150 years, 2-1 up in a game that we really, really need to win. Happy days. Burnley's confidence was a little bit knocked. The crowd was sort of on top of the referee and against the referee because they felt that it wasn't a penalty, the second one, even though it blatantly was a penalty. And Everton are going in on top. Now, as I said before, half-time, 2-1 up. You've gone 1-0 down, you've come back, you've got a couple of penalties and you've taken them well. That's the time where I think the managers and the players' game management has to come into play. The manager has to be able to understand in that situation that we need to stick this out. And even if it's 11 men behind the ball and just defensive, pure Sam Allardyce tactic for the rest of the game, that's all we needed to do. But we didn't. And we couldn't, could we? We come out in the second half, and as I said, I think I said it at half time. I think I tweeted it. I think I said it in the intermatch reaction as well, and I definitely said it to the the people I was watching the game with. This is where we need to go and kill this game off now. Not only game management in terms of not letting them back into it and not conceding silly goals, but go and kill the game off now. Go out there, go and get a third within the first 10-15 minutes of the second half, and just completely end this game. That wouldn't have been difficult to do, by the way, because as I said before, Burnley aren't a great team. And we had the opportunities. We had the chances. Anthony Gordon has a chance in the second half where the ball's fizzed across to him. He takes a first-time shot. If he just stops himself and cuts inside with the fake shot, the defender's already committed, so he's got, a free run on goal. Richarlison had a couple. He had one where he goes one-on-one, he zags it wide. He's obviously looking for the Zatsic, and I do think Richie was looking for the Zatsic for the last 15-20 minutes of the game, so there was a little bit of that going on. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had one or two in which he, again, put wide and forced the goalkeeper into making saves. And as I said, there was about 4 or 5 opportunities, 4 or 5 times where I turned round and I said, that's the chance. That's the chance. That's the one that you get the third, you're 3-1 up away from home. Their confidence is shattered. They're obviously in a bad run of form anyway. They've not, scored a goal in 5. Okay, they've got 1, but they're thinking, right, we're not getting back into this here. We're not getting 2. We're not winning this game. But we don't take our chances. And I said it in the instant match reaction, and I'll say it again. We can sit here all we like and talk about the defence not being good enough, and the defence making mistakes, and the centre-halves making silly errors, conceding silly goals and this, that and the other. But we have to also look at the attackers and think, you're not doing your job properly either. We scored 2 goals on Wednesday. They were both penalties. They were both really well-taken penalties, and they were both blatant penalties as well, so no problem with it. But we had other opportunities to score, and we didn't. We couldn't take them. And that for me is just so poor. So poor. And then as it happens, we don't take our chances. Burnley grow into the game. They grow more confidence into the game. It gets to 10-15 minutes out. They get an equaliser. Player just runs past John Joe Kenny, who should never play for Everton again, by the way. Puts the ball across the box. Jay Rodriguez is standing on his own. Hits it in. And then with a minute to go, again, Ben Godfrey with a weak attempt to clear the ball. Comes back to their attacker, he puts it across the box, and Maxwell Cornet stood and buries it, and all of a sudden we've gone from a comfortable position, looking likely we could go and get a third, to 3-2 down and losing the game. And as I said, for me, the manager has to take responsibility. I think the substitutions he made were woeful, and I think the fact that this Everton team seem unable to manage a game and see a game out is just so worrying, and they're the types of things that you look at and think, that's why I think we'll go down this season, and it is because of those types of situations and those types of scenarios where we're 2-1 up against a really poor team away from home, a team that haven't scored 3 goals since about 1943, and yet we still couldn't see it out. We still couldn't see it out. And the game ends, we lose the game, and now we're sat here, aren't we, all absolutely fuming and sad and just don't really know what to do about it. Tom says, yes, Cam loves the teams. Thank you very much, Tom. And Henry says, hey, Cam, die-hard Toffee, living in Australia. I love the channel, mate. Getting fucking sick of waking up at 2 a.m. every weekend to watch these abysmal players show up with no heart week in, week out. Yeah, I don't blame you, mate. I think we all are. But we don't have to wake up at 2 o'clock, luckily for us. But yeah, just woeful. absolutely woeful. I think the only two that could really walk off with their head held high are Richarlison and Anthony Gordon. They give everything, they worked hard, they battled. The rest of them, I just think, should be ashamed of themselves and absolutely embarrassed by the performance that they put in, because it was atrocious. It was absolutely atrocious. But you know what? There's a game of football to be played tomorrow against Manchester United at Goodison. We will be back with the game preview. We'll do it in about an hour or so after Frank Lampard's pre-game press conference, which is at 1:30. So don't forget to join us live for that one. But yeah, we'll try and be as positive about it as we can. But I just don't see a way out of this for Everton. I really, really don't see a way out of this. And I think Wednesday was the game that we might all look back on and think that was the one that we really needed to get something out of. And that game has put us where we are, even though it hasn't, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. I'm absolutely dying for the toilet, so I'm going to have to go. But as I said, we will be back in an hour with the game preview to the game against Manchester United, so don't forget to join us for that one. We can forget this one now. We can put it behind us. We can put the negativity of it behind us, and we can try and look at some positives going into United and try and be remotely positive about this game, even though I'm absolutely shitting myself for it. But big thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. Really, really do appreciate it. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your comments down below as well. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.